Hello everyone. Today I am coming to you from my backyard in our hammock. It is a lovely spot to read. I hope you find a comfortable spot to listen to this book. This is the last book in our series. You may choose to pause it. It's a bit of a longer read, and you're welcome to put it over 2 days. So today's book is called Parrots over Puerto Rico, and this book tells 2 stories. One, the history of Puerto Rico and the story of the parrots that lived on the island until they nearly became extinct in 1960. So you'll learn how people work together to restore the parrot population. So some animals are endangered due to the actions of humans, nature, and/or other animals, but people can work together to change the plight of endangered animals. I want you, as we read this book, to see how people use creative problem solving and innovative thinking to make a right wrong. What was that wrong and how did they make it right? So what I'll do today, because the writing is so small, I'm going to show you the picture and then read the text. What's kind of cool about this book, it's a narrative nonfiction, just like the other books that we've had. It appears like it's a regular landscape book, but it actually opens and flips this way. Kind of cool. Make sure to pay attention to the vocabulary on the slide. And here we go. Parrots over Puerto Rico. Gotta open it up. For Ruth with love, for my sisters Julie and Susan. Parrots over Puerto Rico. Collages by Susan L. Roth. You might have noticed a pattern in the books this week. Here's our picture. Above the treetops of Puerto Rico flies a flock of parrots as green as their island's home. If you look up from the forest and you are very lucky, you might catch the bright blue flashes of their flight feathers and hear their harsh calls. You also might hear some crows from me today. These are Puerto Rican parrots. They lived on this island for millions of years, and then they nearly vanished from the earth forever. This is their story. Ooh, I love this picture. So beautiful. Long before people came to Puerto Rico, hundreds and thousands of parrots flew over the island and the smaller island nearby. Iguaca, iguaca, the parrots called as they looked for deep nesting holes in the tall trees. Down below, waves from the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean washed the island's white sand beaches. Delicate orchids and wide-spreading ferns, tiny tree frogs, kapok trees bursting with sea pods, and big, scaly iguanas covered the land. Cool. Iguaca, iguaca, the parrots called as they flew to Sierra palm trees to eat their dark, bitter fruit. Around 5000 BC, people came to the island in canoes from lands to the south. These people planted corn, yucca, sweet potatoes, peanuts, and pineapples. When they looked up, they saw the bright blue flashes of flight feathers. More groups of people came. The Taínos arrived around 800 CE. They hunted the parrots for food and kept them as pets. Taínos gave the parrots a name, Iguaca, after their harsh calls. They gave the island a name too, Boriquen. Ooh, looking at this illustration, what are you thinking? I think the crow did it for me. Iguaca, iguaca, the parrots called when hurricane winds blew down the old trees where they had their nests. After the hurricanes passed, the parrots flew through the treetops to find a new nesting holes. Christopher Columbus sailed from Europe to Boriquen in 1493 and claimed the island for Spain. Soon, Spanish settlers were planting crops on the island and building houses and schools with wood, bricks, and stone. Each time hurricanes destroyed their homes and schools, the settlers rebuilt them. The Spaniards called the Parrots cotorras, and they gave the island a new name, Puerto Rico, rich port. In the treetops, the parrots searched for mates. The new pairs of parrots sat on the branches, bowing, calling back and forth to each other, and fluffing their wings and tails. Each pair raised one family of chicks every year. Now, people from many other parts of the world came to live in Puerto Rico. In 1513, Africans were brought to the island to toil as slaves under the hot sun in fields of sugarcane and other crops. More people came from Spain too, and they married Tainos and Africans. They called themselves Boricuas, people of Boriquen, but they were still ruled by Spain. Complicated. Iguaca, iguaca, the parrots called when the red-tailed hawks chased them in the treetops. The parrots flocked together to protect themselves from the hawks. For centuries, people from other countries in Europe tried to capture Puerto Rico. These countries wanted to control the deep harbor at San Juan, the capital city where merchant ships and warships could be launched. The Boricuas protected their island. Starting in 1539, they built a fort that grew and grew until its walls were 18 feet, 5.5 meters thick. For hundreds of years, no country was able to take Puerto Rico away from Spain. Interesting. You notice some flags in there. I wonder what's going to happen. Iguaca, iguaca, the parrots called when they found that their nesting holes had been invaded by creatures brought to the island by settlers. Black rats from the settlers' ship climbed the tall trees and ate the parrots' eggs. Honeybees had escaped from the hives and swarmed into the parrots' nests. In 1898, the United States declared war on Spain. The war was really about Cuba, another of Spain's colonies, but the fighting spilled over into Puerto Rico. Thousands of American soldiers landed on the island and began battling Spanish troops. Spain lost the war and lost control of Puerto Rico. The island became a territory of the United States, and in 1917, Puerto Ricans became U.S. citizens. So, pause and think about what you've learned of the history of Puerto Rico so far. Who was controlling the land, and what the citizens and the parrots were experiencing because of that change and shift. In 1950s, In the 1950s, birds called pearly-eyed thrashers moved into the rainforest and tried to steal the parrots' nesting holes. Like clever thieves, these birds entered places where other birds were struggling to live and compete with them for nest sites. The parrots fought the thrashers, jabbing at them with their sharp beaks and defending their nests with harsh cries, "Iguaca!" But the parrots now had too many enemies and too few trees. The flock became smaller and smaller. By 1954, there were only 200 parrots left. 200! That's not many. Puerto Ricans elected their first governor, and the island became U.S. Commonwealth, aka not a state, not an independent nation, but something in between. The people argued, should their island remain a commonwealth? Should it be a state? Should it be independent of the United States? Everyone had different ideas, but all were proud to say, "Yo soy Boricua." I am Puerto Rican. Okay. Ooh, a beautiful, beautiful waterfall. The flock of Puerto Rican parrots became even smaller. In 1967, only 24 parrots lived in El Yunque. "Iguaca! Iguaca!" the parrots called as they looked for some place, any place, to find food and nesting holes for their chicks. Puerto Ricans looked up and saw that their iguacas were almost gone. People had nearly caused the parrots to become extinct. Now people started to help the parrots stay alive. In 1968, the governments of the United States and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico worked together to create the Puerto Rican Parrot Recovery Program. Its goal was to save and protect the parrots. The first part of the plan was to create an aviary, aka a safe place for parrots to live and raise chicks. We're going to pause there for today's reading, and I want you to tell me and summarize what you know about the history of Puerto Rico so far, and what the experience of the birds has been through that history. You can write that response in your Google slide for us, and we'll get back to this reading tomorrow.